Hello and welcome to Claret and Blue and our Inside BODYMOOR show ahead of Spurs this Sunday. My name is Dan Rowlinson. I'm your host for this afternoon, joined by John Townley to look ahead to what is a pretty important game, it feels like, in the race for Champions League, I guess you want to call it. Before we get stuck into the show, though, John, how are you?
Yeah, doing well, thanks, Dan. It's nice to be back in amongst it, and Villa back on a weekend as well. As you say, really intriguing game, interesting game, and as we'll go on to also a game that I think Villa can win, actually. So yeah, we're looking forward to Sunday. First time as well for myself to be at the new Tottenham Stadium, and apparently it's like like an airport. So that'll be an experience in itself.
I don't know whether that's supposed to be a compliment or not. It's like
true,
an airport.
true. A lot of people don't like airports.
Exactly.
But you know what I mean? It's like when you walk through duty free and everything's really shiny, and it's more that side of the airport rather than the kind of the security section, I suppose.
Okay, fair enough. It's just good for us to record a podcast as well. Obviously, there's things that have come out this week, but we pre-recorded them during the international break last week, so we've not actually spoken about Villa for what feels like a long time, even though it's only, 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever. But it's nice to be back talking about club football, and that's where we're going to get started with our preview show. As always, we start with the presser overall, generally, and your thoughts on having seen and spoken to Unai Emery this afternoon. The thing I really want to ask you about, though, is just like, what's it like to be back? Like, I'm sick to death of international football, so just to be back involved in club football, dealing with Unai Emery, being back at BODYMOOR, it must be a nice feeling for you. Yeah,
it's a very hectic day. A press conference day probably doesn't feel like it, but or that it should be, but there's loads of things to do. So right now I'm very tired. I said to you earlier that I'm going to have my lunch after this, and it's nearly 7 o'clock. So yeah, less complaining from me. But yeah, nice to be back. Nice to be amongst it. As I said, Emery took a few days off during the international break, and he said that he's like fully recharged, he's recharged his batteries, that sort of thing. And same for the players, he needs a break sometimes. Villa have obviously had a very busy 3 months of the campaign, the first 3 months, but then they've got, I think it's 10 games in 35 days, if my maths was correct earlier. So that's going to be probably the busiest period of the campaign. And I think Emery probably took those days off and kind of took stock of where Villa are at the moment because of what's about to come, which is obviously a lot of matches and not a whole lot of preparation for those games either. And to be fair, Emery has always said that he likes to have the games and he'd rather have European football, etc. But this is, Villa only play 2 games of European football until the new year, which is, I guess, is quite a lot considering we've only got about a month left. But there's going to be a lot of Premier League games as well, midweek games because of the festive period. So yeah, he looked very energised. He was very bubbly today, quite energetic, and his answers gave some nice lines as well in the written section that's some bar good for tonight and over the weekend. So yeah, nice to be back, and I think Emery was pleased to get back amongst it as well. I'm sure he would have missed, coaching the players and whatnot, and he would have been glad to have seen them come back, mostly unscathed, from the international break as well.
I thought then for a second you were going to say that he missed you. I don't know why.
I was going to say Mr. Journalist, but then I thought, nah, it's just probably not true.
It's full steam ahead, isn't it, from now till Christmas and to the new year. So I'm keen to see what Unai Emery and his team have been cooking up over this international break. We'll talk about injuries in a second, but for this whole conversation is based about 2 informed teams. I guess Spurs have probably overperformed a little bit this season. I don't think anyone would have had them as high as they are at the beginning of the season after losing Kane and having a new manager. I think we probably all expected them to be better than they were last season, but be around 6th or 7th rather than up around in the top 4 and top until fairly recently. There's a lot of talk about like the high line versus the high line and how this game's going to be absolute chaos. Is that how you think it will play out? Because I'm not quite sure it will.
No, I don't think so, because Emery never wants chaos in games. He always wants control.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and I think if that means Villa don't have 60% of the ball, then I think he'd take that, because I think he wants some sort of, control can mean different things. It can mean in possession and also controlling the game from a defensive point of view, as we saw last year when Villa went to Tottenham. I don't remember. It was obviously a long time ago, but I remember after the match not remembering many chances that Tottenham had in that game, and it was just Villa scored 2 good goals and they won 2-0, and it was very like, we hadn't seen that performance from a Villa team against a traditional top 6 side away from home for, I don't know, how long ago that would have been. So yeah, I'm not expecting that chaos that I think many people are, because Emery won't want it. I think Ange would probably take it, because he doesn't deviate from his principles, and that I think will probably play into Villa's hands. Again, winning the game and getting something out of the game is a completely different thing. There's no doubt about it. Villa have a better chance of winning the game when Tottenham are playing a high line without Van der Ven, without Romero. Potentially in midfield, they won't have Bassoum, and they might not have Pape Matar. I'm not too sure how to say it. A player that Villa were interested in a few years ago now. So that's an interesting dynamic, how they've lost a lot of players. Will they play the same way? Probably. So let's see how Villa do it. And Emery's obviously had a long time to prepare for this match. So it will be very interesting to see how they line up. I have no insight into exactly what they will do, and I don't think anyone will, apart from the Villa players.
Tottenham might not play the same way, given their injuries as well. It might not be this chaotic affair. I certainly think Villa will be a little bit more kind of cautious in their approach to not go there and get involved in it in a bit of a scrap and concede early and kind of throw the game away. I think it's about being a bit more solid and having a good foundation rather than going out there to kill them off. Although we have seen, obviously, that Villa score early. They tend to go on and win the game, so that is important. But
yeah,
we need to get clean sheets as well at some point.
Exactly that, Dan. That's what I was about to say. That's Emery's desperate for clean sheets now. He knows that his team are capable of scoring goals, and he doesn't want to take that, obviously, away from his side at the moment. Villa have scored, I think it's like 47 goals in 19 games in all competitions, which is quite insane, really.
Yeah.
But they've only kept, I think, 2 clean sheets in the Premier League this season. They've been denied that third clean sheet a few times against Luton and then against Fulham. Sloppy goals that they've been given away. But Villa do need to keep more clean sheets than what they are. And yes, this is, the goals they're scoring, I do think it probably is sustainable because they've got the quality, especially at home, to kill teams, as we've seen at the start of the campaign. But yeah, they do need to be more defensively secure. Emery, according to John McGinn anyway, Emery screamed the Villa players in the dressing room at half-time in the win over Fulham last time out because he wanted that clean sheet. He was screaming clean sheet at them. And obviously if they did go and concede later in the match. So yeah, going to Tottenham, I think that'll be the number one thing Emery will want from his team. Control, if they can. And with that comes a clean sheet, hopefully. Although Tottenham do have obviously lots of quality themselves in the final third. You
mentioned Big Ange earlier. We've actually got a clip from his press conference yesterday as this video comes out, speaking about Villa, so I'll drop that in here.
They've been good since Unai's got there. They've been really consistent with the way they play their football, and particularly over recent weeks they're scoring goals and Phil obviously got a great deal of belief, so it's going to be a great test for us. But we're at home. Apart from sort of the Chelsea game, the result there, our home form's been really strong, and we just got to make sure we get back to that. And as you said, everyone's got. We don't have 2 injuries. We've got a few more than that. So, but we're like I said, every club will go through it, and for me, it does allow me to really kind of look at every aspect of our squad, and you kind of try and do that by design, but sometimes it's just that's the sort of our existence at the moment, where guys will get an opportunity to play, and it's great for me to see how they cope with playing our football, how they cope with the stress of playing against good opposition. So it'll be a good test for us, but it's one we have to be up for.
Ange seems to be everyone's favourite second manager in the Premier League at the moment for whatever reason. I'm not really into that kind of stuff, but everyone likes him, which is fine. Just quickly, how do you assess the kind of job he's done? I said at the start, I feel like the Spurs are probably overperforming a little bit, but he's done a great job so far. Yeah,
excellent job. I think he's won all of the Manager of the Months, if I'm not mistaken.
He won 3, yeah. That must be all of them.
He's doing very well. And at the start of the season, I didn't know whether to put Spurs, as you said, Dan, in around 8th or 7th, or in a high position because they don't have European football. And my only question about Ange would be that how is he, tactically in big games, for example. I knew that he was a good manager and that he was a very warm character and stuff like that. He'd have no problem on that side. But then it was the other part of, how can you set your team up to finish in the top 4? Your Guardiolas, Arteta, all those managers, Klopp. There's so many good managers in this league. And I just thought, well, coming down from Celtic, does he have what it takes? Because he hasn't proven that yet. Yes, he's won a lot wherever he's been, but the Premier League is a step up and you're playing against the best teams in the world, the best managers in the world. So fair play at the moment. They've done well. But again, those principles that he's put in, I think only time will tell, basically, on whether that is something that will work in the long term. Is it something that opposition managers will be able to kind of, nullify? Maybe not. Who knows? We'll see in time, but he's definitely made a very good start.
Let's get into the injury update then. A few concerns over the international break about McGinn having a knock. Emi Martinez coming back, feeling a little bit of something as well. Could you just give me a bit of a rundown on where Villa are from a medical point of view? And where's Jacob Ramsey? Is he back?
Yeah, so we'll start with Ramsey then. Yeah, he could be in the squad to play against
nice.
Tottenham. Obviously, he's nowhere near fully fit. I don't even know if he'll make the squad. Hopefully he does. But he's only just returned to group training earlier this week. Similarly to Alex Moreno, will he take a few weeks maybe just to get back into it? We might not even see him play for a long time. But Villa, as I say, I've got a lot of games coming up in a short period. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see how he's managed. I'll start from the back, I suppose. So Emi Martinez has come back from international duty with a bit of a small injury, a bit of a small pain. It wasn't from, I don't know if he was fighting with police. I'm sure he wasn't, but there was obviously some disturbing scenes from like police brutality really against the Argentina supporters, and he was climbing over to try and stop it and stuff, but that wasn't related to the injury. Just a small pain, and I don't think he trained on Friday. They're going to test him again on Saturday, but Emery's pretty hopeful that he'll be able to play against Tottenham. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not mistaken, I think he missed the Tottenham game last year away from home. Yeah. Was it Rob Nelson that played in goal? I think he is. Yeah. So again, Tottenham didn't make many chances from that game, and if they did, they probably have a half decent chance of winning it because Martinez is so important for Villa. Moving up the field, there's quite a lot of injuries to get through. So Leon Bailey and Zaniolo, they both trained alone on Friday, but again, Villa will be training on Saturday, so hopefully they should be involved as well. Again, Emery's hopeful on those two. Bertrand Traore is out. He's injured. He'll have a bit of a spell on the sidelines. He picked up an injury in international duty, came back injured, and that isn't a new story, really, is it? I think that's everyone, unless I've missed someone out. There was quite a few to get through. Oh, and of course, McGinn, yeah, he trained today. Emery asked him, are you okay to, how do you feel? And he said, I'm fine. So, yeah, hopefully there's no niggles that go on up until Sunday. He'll be fit to play.
Hopefully that's an actual I'm fine rather than, yes, I've got problems, but I'm desperate to play. So, yes, Gaffer, I'm fine. Don't put me on the bench.
Yeah. No, I'm sure he would have said, to miss out training. Because to be fair, the knock he had, I don't know if you were watching the game, Dan, and I don't know why I was watching Scotland. He got the injury and I was preparing to write my breaking story about how he's injured. And then he started jogging off the pitch. So immediately I thought, all is fine in the world. But yeah, still he kind of opened up his knee a little bit. So one to monitor, but seems fine.
While we're on injuries, let's do Spurs very quickly. Obviously, well talked about that they're missing players. I've got a list in front of me from a Twitter account called the Spurs Watch, who put unavailable for Tottenham versus Villa as it stands. This was posted on Friday afternoon. Mickey van der Ven injured, James Maddison injured, Richarlison injured, Mana Solomon injured, Ivan Perisic injured, Ryan Sessegnon injured, Ashley Phillips injured, Pape Maté Sarr minor injury to be assessed, Christian Romero suspended, Yves Bissouma suspended. And they've said 6 out of the 11 starters from their last win are now injured or suspended. So there's going to be changes for Spurs. They're going to have to bring different players in. Eric Dyer is likely going to be playing in the back line. Again, whether that means Spurs can play the same way they do, we'll see on Sunday. But there's targets there, isn't there, for Villa to exploit? And I think if Villa are fully fit and firing, this Spurs side can be got at. I think that's the main takeaway. It's a good time to play them. Yeah,
precisely that. It's Villa are incredibly lucky, really, that this game, falls for them. Again, whenever I've been writing pieces like this, I've always said Villa have also had their injury issues to contend with, which is absolutely true with Mings and Buendia and then Ramsey and Moreno, which are 4 very important players. But Villa have had time to cope with them up until now, whereas Tottenham's, quite a few of those injuries like Perisic, Solomon, Sessegnon, I don't know if they've played this season, those guys. No. Yeah, the Van der Ven, James Maddison ones, they are crucial. 2 of Tottenham's 3 or 4 most important players, potentially, I don't know. And then Romero and Bissouma I have absolutely no sympathy about because they're suspensions and that's their fault. So, there's no, they can't have any issue with that. But yeah, Maddison and Van der Ven are both injuries that come at a good time for Villa, I suppose. And as I say, if Anne just deploys the same tactics that he usually does, and I expect him to, then Villa have a very good chance of at least scoring once, maybe twice. So it should be an entertaining game for neutrals, but I hope it isn't. I hope it's just a game Villa can score once or twice, and as I say, similar to last season, and they can remain in control when possible and get out with 3 points.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's go away from match day, then the part of the show where we get to talk about something that isn't Spurs Villa related, but I'm keeping with an injury theme. There's a lovely little flow to this show at the moment. I was talking about Tyrone Mings and his social media update this week. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday off the top of my head. He posted a picture of himself looking very somber in black and white. Thanks for all the support so far. I'll share an update later. And social media and everywhere went into a bit of a meltdown of thoughts of, is this a retirement announcement? Like, is the injury too much for him? I actually want to say very quickly, I tweeted about it once he revealed that, he's been working on his rehab and whatnot, and he's not retiring. I think he said something like, you won't get rid of me that quickly or something in his follow-up update post. And I shared it and said something like, I can't believe people are concerned about retirement. This guy isn't a quitter. And I just meant that in terms of like, he's a fighter and he'll kind of fight this injury as best he can. And he's been here before. He'll get through it. And a couple of people replied to me and said, look, yes, he's not a quitter. People aren't suggesting he is, but this injury could have been forced upon him that he had to retire, because this injury can do that to people. He's at that age where he could be advised by doctors not to. So I deleted my tweets. I thought it probably was in bad taste to suggest that other players who have had to retire through injury are quitters, when that's not how I meant it. But great to see Tyrone Mings back, and almost just a shout out to medical science in a strange way. That like that tweet he posted afterwards was like 101 days ago, I think it was. He was injured, or 110 or something like that, and now he's up. Like, so much progress has been made in 100 days, which is nothing really. The amount that the body can go through with like the top level help from medical professionals is pretty unbelievable. The fact that he's back and like doing the best he can to get back to full fitness is really encouraging to see, and I'm just hopeful that we see him back on that pitch sooner rather than later, and there's no setbacks, and be a pretty special moment when Tyrone takes to the pitch again.
Yeah, absolutely. Both him and Buendia, as you say, then everything you said is completely correct. Buendia as well has made really good progress. He's been around BODYMOOR a lot recently as well, in the gym doing his work. So yeah, but on Tyrone, you're right. I think, him not saying much for, what was it, about 3 months, I think, knowing what he had to go through mentally. He's obviously spoken about it himself when he first had a cruciate ligament injury when he was at Bournemouth, wasn't it? Yeah. I think a lot of Villa fans wanted to just hear kind of an update of how he's doing, because you can't help but think to yourself, well, I hope he's doing okay himself, just as a person. So yeah, it was nice to see that he was he looked kind of, I don't know how to say it, full of life, I suppose. In his video, he was very kind of upbeat, which is great to see. And yeah, you're right. Hopefully at the end of the season, we'll see them before the close of play, I suppose. Emery mentioned them in the press conference today as well. It's important to, kind of continue to remember that they are still part of the squad, even though they might not feature again this season. And I think that kind of, taps into the small family that he's trying to create at Villa, or that he has created at Villa, to be fair. He mentioned that when he put the kind of names on, I don't know if it was a team sheet or something like that, for the Tottenham game, and he forgot to put Mings and Buendia or write their names on the board or whatever it may be. But then he said before he finished it, he added them again, because he said, he doesn't want them to feel like they're not a part of it. They might miss this season, but the next season they're going to be a very valuable member of the squad, and they need the information still that Emery's going to be giving to his players, because it seems like month after month he adds kind of complexities of different tactics, stuff like that. So again, in that way, Mings and Buendia still need to be learning as much as Pau Torres is, or as much as Leon Bailey is, in terms of those positions that Mings and Buendia play in. So yeah, that was nice of Emery to kind of shout them out again. And yeah, hopefully over the next weeks and months we can see more updates on how their recovery is going.
Yeah, I can only imagine what it must be like as a player to miss all these kind of tactical briefings from Unai Emery. Yeah. You remember when, it's probably only like a couple of years ago for you. You remember when you had like a day off school and you came back and felt like you don't know what's going on because you've learned something new and everyone's left behind? I can imagine missing like a month of Unai Emery. Like, I'll be thinking, what the hell do I do now? Like, I want to be in there, making sure I don't miss up, catch up on my homework. The opposition preview is back. One of my favourite sections of doing these shows. A little bit shorter than usual because I was in a little bit of a rush this morning to record it. I caught up with Football.London's Rob Guest, who is half of the Golden Guest podcast. He'd just come back from speaking to Ange Postecoglou. So he's at Spurs' training ground in this clip, and there's a bit of background noise. So it's not the best kind of clip in the world, but it's only 5 or 6 minutes. Right, Rob, I've got 5 questions for you about Spurs Villa this weekend. First one, what have you made of the job that Ange Postecoglou's done at Spurs so far?
He's done a really, really good job, to be fair. Obviously, 4th in the Premier League table, 2 points off Man City. At the top, he's got them playing his way. Tottenham fans have been desperate for the players, the teams who playing this attack-minded, easy on the eye football, and they have been doing it so far this season, and they've got some really good results along the way. It's just prior to the last international break, they've had 2 defeats in the space of a week. What's not been the greatest, but when you look at the season as a whole, it's been really good. And I mean, if you'd have offered 4th place to Tottenham fans 2 points off the top after 12 games, if you said that to fans, the week before the opener at Brentford, they've snatched your hand off. So I think it's been a lot of positives so far, and I think there's plenty more to come under Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham.
Yeah, both sides have done very well this season. We did a combined 11 earlier in the week, which was obviously biased towards Villa. We had a split of 7 Villa and 4 Spurs. But I think if you look across both sides, there's good players in both teams now. And I do think towards the end of the season that both teams will be up around that top 5 mark, to be honest.
Yeah, very much so. I don't know who would put in the combined 11. Like you said, really good players. And I mean, even hard to split the goalkeepers. Because Vicario's come in and made such an impact. But then you look at the impact Emi Martinez has had at Aston Villa the past year as well, winning the World Cup. Both teams are flying at the moment. I was really impressed with Villa towards the back end of last season, and there was like one moment probably around April time when you're thinking, hang on, they could actually push for the Champions League here. So they were going great guns, and Unai Emery has done a fantastic job, brought in some really good players this summer, taking them up another level, and I mean they're deservedly in the top 5 at the moment. And at the start of the season we were asked to do our predictions at football.london. I put Villa in top 4, and I wouldn't be surprised if they finish there come the end of the year.
Yeah, in the summer I actually said Villa for the Champions League, thinking top 4, but if 5th gets it, I'll absolutely take that. Just looking at Spurs, what is your biggest strength? Like, what should we be worried about as Villa fans from your side of things?
Just the style of football, what Postecoglou's implemented. It's just attack minded. As soon as they get the ball, they want to get forward with it. The players link up extremely well in attack, and when you've got players like Sondheim, Kulusevski, Brennan Johnson in the front 3, they're going to cause trouble for Aston Villa. And the thing is as well, there's some good midfield players there as well. Rodrigo Bentancur, who was previously linked with Aston Villa before he went to Tottenham, he's just coming back to fitness now. Pat Matasar's had a really, really good season. So there's a good group of players there. Destiny Udogie as well, who's been playing at left back. He's come in and made an instant impact. So there's a number of good players there. As I think Unai Emery will have been keeping a close eye on how Spurs have been playing. Because they've been playing some excellent football this season, and that's what Villa are going to have to watch out for.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk in this game about like the high line versus the high line and how it's going to be total chaos. And I'm not sure it will play out like that, or that it would be entertaining if it did. Flip side of my previous question, what are you worried about from Villa's side of things?
Just the quality players they've got, especially in attack. Given Tottenham, it's got to be a bit of a makeshift defence. Pedro Porro will be starting at right back as usual. Destiny Udogie at left back, but Christian Romero suspended. Mickey van der Ven, he's out injured until the new year, and those two have built up a really good partnership. Playing the football Postecoglou wants, they're good on the ball, they'll get it forward straight away, and they're both huge misses. And coming up against Ollie Watkins, Moussa Diaby as well, have been really, really impressed with. They're going to give, Eric Dyer, Ben Davies co a really, really good game, and Villa have been scoring for fun, haven't they? Especially in the home games as well. So, there's going to be chances there for Villa, and 9 times out of 10 you'd back Ollie Watkins to be taking them.
We're certainly better at home than we are away from home, but obviously Emery's had a couple of weeks to hopefully cook up a plan for this Spurs game. If it is that chaotic game that people are talking about, though, I'm very much looking forward to that because it would be exciting. I said at the start it was going to be 5 questions, but I've thought of another one, so I'll give you a bonus question before I get on to my original 5th. It's a bleeding obvious question, but the players you've mentioned, Van der Ven, etc., those missing this weekend, how big of a blow is that? It won't be easy, will it, to play without those guys?
Oh, no. Their absence was felt in the previous game at Wolves. Spurs just went at the best or playing the style of football they have been in previous weeks. Christian Romero and Mickey van der Ven, like I said, have been huge misses, but James Maddison as well, just in that midfield 3, playing as the attack-minded midfielder, knitting up midfield and attack. He's had a huge influence in the final third this season. Maddison's out until early next year, so Ange Postecoglou needs to find a solution to that, whether that's got to be Giovanni Lo Celso or Rodrigo Bentancur. They need to find a solution. So, some big players missing, but Tottenham do have a number of good players still in the team.
And the final question is one that's very simple to ask, but probably not so simple to answer. What is your score prediction for Sunday?
I'll go for a draw, 2-2. There's going to be goals in this game. I don't know whether Tottenham will have enough in them to get the 3 points. They've been playing really well at home this season, apart from that blip against Chelsea. Just suppose it depends how they do in attack, because they really struggle against Wolves going forward. So I'll go 2-2.
Lovely stuff, mate. I'll save my prediction for later in the show, but thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Cheers, pal.
No problem, mate.
Now, on to predicted 11 for us. It always feels like it's pretty much as you were for Villa. But, John, can you just run me through how you think Unai Emery will line up for this game on Sunday?
Yeah, I think he's got a few dilemmas, to be fair. I was thinking maybe will he bring Carlos back into the defence like he did for the Liverpool away game, away against Wolves as well, and Burnley. I've basically just gone and changed, I think. I was thinking, Tielemans, Zaniolo, Bailey, I'm not sure, but I think Tielemans probably warrants another start. And again, I think it probably helps with, controlling the match as much as Villa can do on Sunday. So, yeah, I think I'll just go and change. I know that's very boring, but it's probably easy for you when you make your graphics. So.
Yeah, that's actually true. I'll drop that in here of the unchanged lineup. So Bailey trained alone yesterday. Is there any scope for like a Bailey, DRB, Watkins front three and play them high and have that pace against a possible high line from Spurs?
Yeah, I mean, possibly, but I think Villa can probably, do it different ways. You've got Luca Dini practically plays as left winger. Matty Cash can play as a right winger. So yes, you're probably taking away some pace in behind by playing Tielemans instead of Zaniolo or especially Bailey. But I don't think Leon Bailey wants to be known as the substitute player that can make an impact. But that's how I look at him now. I think 65 minutes, Bailey coming on against tired legs against a high line. That's your way to score goals. And I'm not too sure if Tottenham, play high line when they're winning or whatever, because to me that's a bit reckless. I don't know. I'm not sure what they've done in previous matches, but if that is the case, then you've got 90 minutes there of possibilities. So yeah, I would probably just go and change, although I'm with you. I think Bailey can definitely make an impact in the match.
We'll do score predictions then. Rob went for a 2-2 for reference for you, John. Obviously, people watching will have seen that, but you haven't. He's on 2-2. He thinks both teams will score and there'll be goals in it. What are you going with? Do we actually catch up with what we did last time very quickly? The last time out against Fulham, we obviously beat them 3-1 at Villa Park. I went with a 2-1 win and you went with a 2-0. So 1 point for both of us. So that leaves us with 14 points for me for the season so far and 10 for you. So I'm still in the lead just about. You can obviously make ground up on me this week if you get the prediction right for Spurs. So what are you going for?
I am going between a 2-2 and a 2-1 Villa. I'll go 2-1 Villa.
Would you take a draw? Would you be happy with that?
I don't know if I would, I don't think I would. Just because I know that Villa can win this game. And yes, away from home, we haven't been great this season and that does need to change. But listen, you've got to get points against teams around you. Going away to a Tottenham side who are without their best players apart from Son.
Yeah.
It's a huge opportunity. I think it's a good opportunity for us to kind of reverse that away form. I am looking towards that Bournemouth game and I'm thinking that's going to be... this is going to sound not offensive to Tottenham, but I feel like that will be as difficult in a weird way for different reasons. Tottenham will be playing Villa at home, thinking that they can win that match as much as we do, but I think it can definitely work out for either way. Whereas Bournemouth, they're the underdogs on that. Villa will go there. It's a tight pitch. The whole narrative of that, they beat Newcastle the other week. I feel like both of those games are very difficult. Put it this way, I'd take one win out of those games. I'd take 4 points out of the next two games, basically. But either one,
It's mad, isn't it? How like you can say I'll take 4 points out of the next two games and we go, that's all right. But if we beat Spurs and only drew to Bournemouth, we'd look at that as bad.
That's it. If we beat Spurs, then you get a Bournemouth thinking, right, we've got to win now again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think 4 points is a good total out of those two games. But yeah, you're right. Villa going into every game, apart from maybe Man City and Arsenal away, thinking that they can definitely win it. So yeah, I'll go 2-1 Villa.
Okay. I'm not in the territory of saying must win after 12 games, but I do feel like if Villa are to be serious about their top four ambitions, you don't want to go to Spurs in the condition that they're in and lose. I think that looks bad.
Yeah.
Obviously, it looks bad, but Villa are nowhere near as good a side away from home as they are at home. So to have another statistic of, it's Liverpool, Newcastle, Spurs, Forest, like it's another one to the list where Villa don't win away from home or lose away from home, just kind of adds to that narrative. So I'd like to avoid that if possible. I'm not going to be sensible and pick the draw. I've only predicted Villa to draw one game all season. I've predicted us to win all of the other 11, which is obviously mad. I'm going to say 3-1. There's a slight differential to you. I think Watkins and Diaby could have a field day if Spurs play the way we think they might, with a higher line with lesser players. So 3-1 I'll go for.
Yeah, and just on that as well, I think the other thing is that, again, any team that finishes around top 4, top 5, they go to Tottenham in this state thinking that they can win and going to win, whereas Villa don't want to have that mentality of going there and, can we get a point out of this? They'll be going there to win, and Emery said that again in his presser today. He said that we need to be focused on the game plan and winning, which isn't something that I've heard him say too often. He's usually quite relaxed about it, but he kind of made it clear that Villa are going to go there to get 3 points, and that is the mentality of a top 5 team, especially against the Tottenham side, who are very much depleted.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'll do us for this episode of Inside Bodymoor. John, thank you so much for sharing your time this afternoon. Obviously, this video is coming out Saturday morning, so enjoy the weekend until Villa play tomorrow afternoon. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on Sunday or Monday, depending on what I do for my birthday. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.